Welcome back. This is Mukul Yudhvir Singh for Autocar Professional. We're here at Automechanika 2026, and sitting with us is a special man, Vinnie Mehta.
Thank you.
Vinnie, sir, welcome.
Thank you.
My first question,
Yeah.
like always,
Yes.
right, because you're the pulse of the industry. You know the pulse of the
Jesus.
industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
EU FTA,
Yes.
that's old news.
Yes. Oh,
But
Jesus.
but then tweets from our Honorable Prime
Yes.
Minister and tweets from the
The
man Trump
yes. Yes.
himself.
Yes.
How has the industry reacted to that?
I think the industry is indeed very, very excited, and it is extremely critical for us. The EU FTA is very critical for specifically from an auto component industry's perspective because our exposure to US is probably, in terms of export, one of the largest. EU is also an equally important partner, so we are also equally excited about the EU FTA. Just to share some numbers, one, I'm very proud of the fact that the auto component is a very export competitive industry. We are one of the few industries that exports almost 30% of what we produce. So last year our turnover was $80 billion. Of that, we exported $23 billion. And what's exceedingly interesting is that 30% of what we export goes to the US, and another 30% goes to the European Union. So these two markets are very critical markets for us, and I'm very happy that in a short span, just within a gap of 3 or 4 days, we had the EU FTA, and thereafter we had the US FTA. While finer details are awaited, but I think we are set on the right track, and I'm very hopeful that these two agreements will lead to a lot many opportunities on both sides. And I say both sides because one, uh, uh, I think what will happen is they will get more market access into India. Their duties were already lower than ours. Okay, for the European Union, I speak of that. And what we are looking specifically from the EU FTA is that it will lead to more technological engagement. Bharat Mobility Global, the expo that we did, the component show, is now being called the Component and Technology Show. And today, where we are sitting at this wonderful platform that has grown twice of what it was in the last edition, is all about technology. So the industry is metamorphosizing itself into a tech-driven industry. That's reflective in whatever we do and whatever we display. And from an FTA perspective, these will lead to more technological technologies flowing into the country. We expect the European companies sort of deepen their presence because directionally it indicates more, coming together of two big economies. And yes, we would. Well, it could also lead to more European vehicle manufacturers coming in, but again, they would be in a staggered manner the way the government is planning to safeguard the interest of the domestic vehicle industry. So be it. Yeah, and from a US, we are still awaiting the finer details because notionally from a 50% to an 18% is a great opportunities, but you would know of the $6.5 billion worth of export that we do to the US, almost half of it gets covered under the Section 232, which is the National Security Act, and the components there are at 25%. And another bucket is also at 25%, while the tariffs, which is the reciprocal tariffs, are pegged at 50%. For the auto components, the reciprocal tariff is 25%. So we need to see whether that 25% will come down to 18% or not. So that's what I'm saying, that directionally we're absolutely bang on when it comes to the USA. And what is also very important from a US perspective is that rest of the world is doing tariff negotiations. We are doing a bilateral trade agreement.
Wow.
So the bilateral trade agreement goes much beyond a tariff negotiation. You will talk about investment, you'll talk about IP, you will talk about movement of people. It goes much, much beyond, And I'm very, very hopeful that the concern of the auto component industry will also be addressed, because the BTA is a comprehensive, and the hope stems from the fact that the US has given European Union 15% tariff. For Japan, it's a 15% tariff. And for South Korea, it's 15% tariff. And it's irrespective of the fact that we have a Section 232. So I'm hopeful that I'm very confident in the charm that our Prime Minister holds on Mr. Trump, that we will be able to get a fair deal for the auto component sector as well.
Interesting. A lot of food for thought that you've given me and our viewers, of course, Vinny. But sir, when we met the last time,
Yes.
we spoke of certain headwinds,
Yes.
and those were especially because of
Yes.
one market.
Yes.
Do we now see those headwinds anywhere close, or has the aeroplane steered somewhere clear of them?
Well, I mean, the life would be so boring if there were no headwinds. And especially in our industry, I think, headwinds are welcome because they help us stay focused. They keep the adrenaline going. Okay. Um I think we are well begun, I would say, and we are celebrating the beginning of a long drawn journey, where, hopefully we'll be able to set right of where we were pushed back. So there is a door now opened up, and we need to make the best of it. We need to make the best of it through the shrewdness of our negotiations, through the competitiveness of our industry. And the headwinds continue, and it's just not the geopolitics of headwinds, but also, we had the semiconductor crisis. We came out of the semiconductor crisis. Now we have a memory crisis. So all that is playing in tandem, and sometimes the headwind leads to strange problems, wherein, a war in the Middle East, you have to route the products right through the Cape of Good Hope and up. If you were to access the US, your logistics costs go up, availability of containers goes down, raw material prices go up and down. So we continue to live in a VUCA world, but what I'm extremely, extremely proud of our industry is that we continue to grow. And I'm talking about the whole vehicle industry as a whole. Today, we are a global sweet spot where the vehicle industry is doing phenomenally good numbers. Again, big marks to the government for cutting down the GST. That was a shot in the arm. And I guess, again, the GST cut rate, the way I see, would be, again, to manage the global headwinds, because we have such a wonderful market available at home that is almost untapped. And why I say so is that your car penetration is something like 30, 35 per thousand people. So you have a headroom of 970 cars per thousand available with you, and look at the way some of the domestic car manufacturers have come up today in the quality of product. I don't mean offense for any particular brand, but the way I'm seeing some of the domestic car brands have come, and they really caught on the imagination of the people. So we are having products made in India for the Indian consumer that work in Indian conditions. So that has such a positive impact. And very interestingly, every segment of the vehicle has come back strongly. The car anyways had come along quite good. The two-wheeler came back strongly. Now the commercial vehicle industry has started to come back. And also what's very phenomenal is, see, the auto component industry does not supply alone to these three segments. We also have the farm equipment and tractor. and that has been consistently performing well for last 4 to 5 years. And that's supposed to be a cyclical market, so this is something really phenomenal, never seen in any economy, where you have a long drawn success of the vehicle coming along, and on back of it, the component industry is doing very, very, very well. And you would walk to the show and see the show is a resplendent show. It's no less than any other global show. So there we are, celebrating India.
Interesting. Electronics,
Yes.
silicon,
Yes.
Semiconductors,
Yes.
FTAs,
Yes.
India working for bilateral trade, then
Yes.
tariffs, right?
Yes. We are ticking all the boxes, right? So in some sense, the government has the pulse of the industry, and they're doing whatever they can, of course, but then it cannot be solved tomorrow. It's a question of how we best make use of these opportunities.
Interesting. The the US trade that we were talking about,
Yes.
right? And you mentioned certain sections.
Yes.
Though the clarity is not here yet,
Yes.
but do you expect some certain components to fall under that 18% category?
It's too early for me to say, because I cannot comment without a notification. Okay, but as I said, I'm very, very hopeful that things will work out. And honestly, the U.S. industry itself has started to struggle. The domestic market is struggling because of the high tariff rates. You see, typically importing into the US from anywhere in the world, the components would attract duty of 0 to 2.5%. Now, most people are in 15 to 25% bracket, right? And therefore, your duties are going up from 2.5% to 17% to 27%. That's quite big a cost to absorb. No one in the, apart from some of the key electronics players that you have, and that in the chip space, nobody has those kinds of margins. So how does the industry absorb those margins, whether it is the component guy or even the vehicle guy or even the consumers? The job rate in US is not doing great, right? So so this is how it is. In some sense, I would say the tariffs are making their own industry a little non-competitive. I hope they will come around, but I guess the industry there also is sort of working hard to sort of get their point of view across. But politicians and economies have their own compulsions of what they're doing, so we need to respect that. So those are the boundary conditions, and
Interesting. Coming back to Automechanika 2026, right? All the keywords that you've just
Yes.
said, right? Is this a build-up to the components and technology show?
In a way, yes. I guess both the show have a very strong thread of ACMA in here, because it is the ACMA members who are participating. So what you see, if you were to remove the face of the show, both the shows, this is a celebration of the auto component industry of India. Okay, in that sense, every single show is an evolution, is a build up on the earlier edition, and lo behold, there we are. And you must also appreciate, or maybe sort of for the viewers, I must remind that the first edition of the Bharat Mobility Global Expo was built on ACMA Automechanika. So in that sense, this show holds a great place in our heart, because it was a stepping stone for the Bharat Mobility Global Expo.
Interesting. I love the fact that you're calling it now Components and Technology Show.
Yes.
Right?
That's a very conscious decision.
6 months, I mean, it's been like 2 months, like when we last met, and
Yes.
you informed us that now EMS and electronics companies are becoming part
ACMA
of
members.
ACMA.
Yes.
I'm sure that is one of the points why technology word came in. But what are the other points? One could be semiconductors, silicon, electronics, but why components and specifically technology?
I think that's a very important question, and I say with a lot of deference, the fact that the character of the industry is changing from a perspective of people want to attain global scales in terms of the sizes. You need to raise money, okay, and you have to work on the perception of the industry, okay. If you are perceived as a mere brick and mortar industry, you can't raise as much money, okay. But the word technology brings in a lot of zing, okay. And when you are walking the talk, I mean, we're not just calling it a technology for the heck of technology, but we are positioning the industry as a tech industry. Okay. What's also very interesting, and for the viewers also, is that we have set up the ACMA Mobility Foundation. Okay, this event and all ACMA activities are run under ACMA Mobility Foundation. Okay. Uh, all ACMA members are by default members of the ACMA Mobility Foundation. And over a period of time, the ACMA brand will phase and you will have the ACMA Mobility Foundation as a name continuing. The idea being that we want to represent the mobility industry, not alone the auto industry, because the industry is transforming itself into a mobility industry. Our members today are not limited to supplying to the vehicle industry as it is understood conventionally. We are supplying to people who are in the aerospace. We are people who are supplying into the railways, which are the conventional modes, but people are now supplying to the drones.
Yeah.
So the entire concept of mobility is changing. Okay. The moment you transcend and graduate from an auto to mobility, the world and the space becomes so much larger. So we're coming from that perspective, and very proudly to head the ACMA Mobility Foundation.
One last question, sir.
Yes.
And this comes out from whatever you just told me.
Yes.
When we say technology, right?
Yes.
I'm just speaking of technology, keeping
Yes.
the components part at the other
Yes.
side. Do you see India exporting more technology in 5 years from today than it does components?
Again, I would not separate technologies and components, okay, because the technology is a broad terminology, and the component is delivering the functionality. No, so if you have an the electronic braking system, okay, it's got electronics sitting on it,
Right.
okay, but the technology could be electronics, but the functionality remains braking.
Right.
The lights are all LED. They're all LEDs, electronics. Okay. The axles are becoming e-axles. Okay. So in some sense, that the technology is getting embedded into the components, and they're becoming one. There is no distinction between the component. Is more of a functionality, and it comes because component means a part. Okay. And therefore, it's a part of another larger system. The other thing is, very interestingly, from discrete components, not the electronic components, but the discrete auto components, people are moving to a systems space. So there's a lot of integration of components, functionality. So the customer is moving gradually towards a black box approach, where they would say that, look, I have this problem to address. Can you provide a solution to it?
Right.
Okay. So you have the hardware, you have the middleware, you have the software, everything coming into it. And hardware is not necessarily a PCB. Okay.
Right.
A hardware is including the normal
Brake
metal.
pads,
Yeah.
brake
I
pads.
mean, normal metal components that we
Right,
produce,
right,
right? So in some sense, it's again a huge convergence that's happening. And of course, telecom sits very central to whole thing, because everything communication would be a 5G thingy, or God knows a 6G, whatever will come by. And also, I think the government is very clued on to all this. ACMA and SIAM are very active participants at the WP29, which is the UNECE body where we set the global standards, and we adopt them in India. And the phase between the global standard, or the phase lag between the global standards and the Indian standards, is becoming very, very short, so there we are. I mean, honestly, if you are the world's largest, or if you aspire to be the world's largest, or at least one of the three largest auto markets in the world, it'd be a shame if you're not a technology player.
So, in a sentence, technology embedded components
Yes.
formed into systems are
Yes.
going to be the key 3 to 4 years from now.
Yes, absolutely. They would be key differentiator of your competitiveness.
Perfect. Vinnie, sir, anything else you would like to add to this conversation?
No, I think please make the best of the show and keep supporting us well.
Perfect. Thank you. This is Vinnie, sir. This is Mukul Youth Singh signing off for Autocar Professional, and we'll see you here at Automechanika 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.